In China 2,400 years ago, a steward committed a crime and planned to flee to a neighboring country. A counselor asked him, "How do you know for sure that their king will definitely take you in?" The steward said, "I once accompanied my lord to meet him at the border. He held my hand and said, 'I'd like to be friends with you, so I want to go to their country.'" The counselor stopped him and said, "Our country is powerful while theirs is weak. You were favored by our king before, so he wanted to befriend you. Now that you are fleeing to his place, he is afraid of our king and surely won't dare to keep you. Instead, he will arrest you to curry favor with our king. You'd better plead guilty to our king on your own. Maybe there's still a chance for you to be pardoned." The steward decided to flee to that country solely based on the oral promise of the other country's king that he was willing to be friends with him, without comprehensively considering various factors such as the comparison of the strength of the two countries, his own current situation, and international relations. This warns people that when making important decisions, they should not act blindly based on a single factor. Instead, they should comprehensively and thoroughly analyze the whole situation they are in, including all aspects. Otherwise, they are likely to make wrong judgments and lead to serious consequences. When the other country's king initially expressed his willingness to befriend the steward, it was largely because the steward was favored by the king of his own country at that time and his own country was powerful. Befriending the steward would bring certain benefits to the other country. This shows that interpersonal relationships are often influenced by factors of interest. In many cases, others' friendly gestures may not be purely based on friendship but are mixed with considerations of interests. People should keep a clear mind in interpersonal communication, recognize the possible interest relationships behind, and not be easily blinded by superficially friendly words. When the steward was about to flee to the other country due to his crime, the situation changed. Because his own country was powerful and the other country was weak, the other country's king was afraid of the power of his own country. The counselor inferred that not only would he not take the steward in, but he might even arrest the steward to curry favor with the king of his own country. This reflects that people's attitudes may change drastically under different interest patterns. So one should not rely too much on others' past attitudes. One should understand that with the change of interest relationships, others' positions may also change accordingly. The counselor's suggestion that the steward should plead guilty to the king of his own country conveys a correct attitude that one should have after making a mistake. That is, to have the courage to face one's own mistakes instead of trying to escape. Escaping usually makes the situation worse. Taking the initiative to assume responsibility and seeking solutions may still offer a chance to be forgiven and have the sentence reduced. Moreover, the suggestion of pleading guilty to the king of his own country put forward by the counselor is, relatively speaking, a more reasonable way to handle the crisis. This tells people that when encountering problems and crises, they should think calmly and choose a correct way that conforms to the actual situation and is more likely to solve the problem, instead of taking some seemingly convenient but actually extremely risky wrong approaches. The state of Jin wanted to attack the state of Wei, so it sent 400 wild horses and a piece of jade to the state of Wei. The king of the state of Wei was very happy. All the ministers came to offer their congratulations. The prime minister said, "We have done nothing to deserve such rewards and gifts. We can't help but worry about their motives. This is the scale of gifts that a small state usually presents to a large state, but now this large state is sending us gifts of this scale. Your Majesty, you should be on guard against them." Then the king passed these words on to the border guards and asked them to get ready for defense. Sure enough, the large state suddenly led troops to attack. When they arrived at the border, they found that the state of Wei had already strengthened its army. They said, "There are wise people among them who have foreseen my plan, so they had to retreat." Be alert to unwarranted rewards. When everyone was happy and offering congratulations because of the generous gifts sent by the large state, the prime minister was able to keep a clear head and not be deceived by the seemingly generous rewards on the surface. He knew very well that his own state had done nothing to deserve such great gifts, which was against common sense. Thus, He keenly sensed that there might be malicious intentions hidden behind this by the state of Jin. This enlightens us that when facing sudden benefits, rewards, or interests, we should not just focus on the immediate gains and become complacent. Instead, we should think deeply about whether there are any unreasonable aspects behind them and whether there are any potential risks or motives. The Prime Minister saw through this as a strategic means, that is, first paralyze the other party with generous gifts and then implement the invasion plan. The ability to penetrate the surface phenomena and analyze the real intentions behind them is an important kind of wisdom. In our daily lives and work, we will also encounter various seemingly beautiful appearances, such as some seemingly attractive business cooperation opportunities, overly enthusiastic actions of others, etc. We need to possess similar insight to explore their essence and avoid falling into unnecessary difficulties. In the situation where the state of Wei had not yet suffered an actual attack, seemed to be at peace and was a little bit happy because of receiving the gifts, the Prime Minister was able to anticipate the possible dangers in advance and remind the king to be on guard against the state of Jin. This reflects the wisdom of being vigilant in times of peace. In a comfortable and smooth environment, one should still remain alert and not relax the attention to potential threats. The practice of taking immediate practical actions to prevent is the specific manifestation of taking precautions before it is too late. Merely realizing the problem is not enough. One also needs to take active actions, make preparations in advance, and formulate coping strategies so that one can effectively respond when the crisis actually arrives and reduce losses. After listening to the analysis and reminder of the Prime Minister, the king of the state of Wei did not ignore the Prime Minister's words because of the short-lived joy brought by the gifts. Instead, he passed them on to the border guards and asked them to do the defense work according to the Prime Minister's suggestions. This shows that the king was able to attach importance to the suggestions of the advisors and knew how to listen to professional and rational opinions. This is a kind of leadership wisdom. In a team, whether the leader can listen to the reasonable suggestions of others with an open mind often relates to the rise and fall and success or failure of the whole collective. From the perspective of the whole country, the Prime Minister was able to keenly perceive and put forward reasonable suggestions, the king was able to adopt and promote the implementation, and the border guards were able to do the defense preparation according to the instructions. These series of links constitute an effective team cooperation system. This story reflects the wisdom of team members fulfilling their respective responsibilities, giving full play to their respective advantages, and jointly dealing with external threats through good communication and cooperation. In any collective activity, the mutual cooperation and fulfilling of respective duties among members are the key factors to achieve goals and resolve crises.
More detail, more story, follow me, please.